Hi, everyone. Mary Esther Gilbert back again for more information for your true health mastery and all of you out there who are seeking optimal health vibrancy. So today I'd like to talk about how the state of the world is causing a lot of chaos and a lot of stress among the population. So what I'd like to show you a little bit about is how to maintain your cool, how to maintain your calm, how to not fall victim to the misinformation, disinformation, propaganda coming from all sides, just from the media and people who voice their personal opinions upon you, and it's just such a chaotic mess. People are losing their friendships and their families over what's happening in the world today. So stepping back, maintaining your health, optimizing your health, making sure your nervous system is functioning optimally, your brain is not foggy headed and not overrun from, being overstimulated or just having to deal with all these different stressors and worries and fears. So let's go ahead and look at ways we can calm ourselves down inside, stay calm, and just be the observer. So it may be difficult for people to do that if they're not in the highest vibrational frequency of their optimized health. So let's take a look at some information that I put together here for you so that you can use this as a tool to begin becoming more calm. Those of you who've already reached a state of inner calm and inner bliss, congratulations. But there are more of you out there who are physically ill, or you have health issues that are actually bringing your vibrational frequency down. Everything in the universe is frequency. All of the biophysicists of all time, the greatest minds, have always told us that everything comes down to light, energy, and frequency. So our cells vibrate at certain frequencies depending on the level of our health. So let's go ahead and take a look at all that and just iron it all out and just see what you think, okay? So anyhow, I'm calling this optimizing your nutritional health for mental calm and stability, maintaining cognitive consonance in a world of chaos. So the word consonance may be new to some people. It's from a psychologist named Leon Festinger, who came up with the concept back in 1957 when I was only 3 years old. In his book, A Theory of Cognitive Dissonance, Festinger proposed that two ideas can be consonant or dissonant. So the consonant ideas logically flow from one to another, whereas a dissonant ideas are in conflict or in opposition to one another. So it's causing inner turmoil or just stress. So you have conflicting and confusing disinformation out there, people who are trying to sort out all of this information. Sticking to one narrow-minded belief system sometimes can be blissful for people, but they also, when confronted with new ideas from someone else, even especially if it's someone that they love and care about, or friends or coworkers, someone they have to, deal with all the time or be around all the time, it can be very, very stressful for the relationships. So getting your information right doesn't necessarily mean you have to force the fact that you're right onto someone else. So just sitting back and allowing the flow, allowing the God force of the universe to just handle every individual at their own pace and from their own perspective. So this is something that's very difficult for many people to do. Is you gather your factual data, or you gather your beliefs, and you put them all together into who you are, and if that conflicts with someone else's, you find yourself trying to convince the other person that you're right or they're wrong, or just even tactfully or just very gingerly trying to drop some tidbits of information in fear that perhaps the other person, it could trigger them to become more defensive or angry or emotionally, upset. And there goes the relationship. It's so difficult to allow the other person to have their beliefs and to believe they're right. So there's nothing you can do about that. You can't go to an adult and try to change them. Everyone probably knows that by now. If you've been in any kind of relationships before, is trying to change someone is, it would take years to be around a person long enough to have any influence on them. And even then you may not know what influence you're even having or impact you're having on the other person because of their perceptual filters, as the psychologists have always said, right? So this is going to kind of help you elevate yourself and step back and be the observer so that you can feel good about doing that. And even though it's difficult, if you feel you're right about things, it's difficult to watch someone you really care about to go off in these, directions. But trusting the universe for each individual person and their individual path in their life journey is something very important you have to try to maintain and try to remember and be aware of at all times. So being your higher self, being the best possible version of yourself is your job, and then that becomes a higher vibrational frequency that other people are attracted to, and they want to be around you. They want to know how you are so blissful and calm and happy and cognizant, and living a life that you are happy to be in. So a lot of people are so attracted to that kind of person. Well, behind the scenes, that person has been self-growing, self-learning, and a lot of introspection, prayer, meditation, doing everything they possibly can to be the best version of themselves, busily focusing on themselves rather than someone else, trying to change someone else. So I think that what I have found in the 45 years I've been teaching nutritional healing is that when people get rid of their illnesses and their bodies are vibrating at a higher frequency associated with optimal wellness, it's not just the physical body that changes, it's the mental ability, and we'll go into that shortly, and the spiritual enhancement of someone's spirituality. So that all happens automatically. It doesn't take any maybe psychologist or not that I'm knocking the medical community in that way, because there are many excellent psychologists out there that I have seen over the years. But nevertheless, focusing on one's own mental, psychological, emotional balance is the single most important thing everyone in this entire civilization can do, because it creates a higher vibrational frequency being. And with that comes the universal, collective that influences each other. Right now, we are always influencing each other, whether we realize it or not. It doesn't have to be verbal. And it knows no distance, where someone who is 3,000 miles away or many people who are 3,000 miles away, they actually have an impact on everyone on the planet. So what I'm talking about is, for instance, is when people practice meditation and prayer, even if it's, a small number of people in any geographical location or non-geographical location, even if they're scattered all over the globe, if there's a certain percentage of humanity that is practicing these positive things, then they have a positive influence on the planet. So hence we see a battle of, positive and negative influences, or the battle between good and evil, if you want to get biblical about it. And so this is going on all levels, whether it's in your body, you've got some conflicting information where if you provide your body with the wrong nutrients, then there's going to be some cascade reactions of stress, inflammation, things like that. But if you're continuing to provide your body with what it truly needs to be optimized, then you're going to minimize the negativity, right? So a certain level of the population has to reach the point of maintaining their optimized physical, mental, and spiritual health in order for the world to change. So you don't sit around and wait for the world to change. You work on yourself and elevate your vibrational frequency, and then your energy expands and influences people all over the world, whether you realize it or not. Okay. All right. So I'm going to just look at my document here. I'll just share my screen so that you can see what I'm doing here. It's just an outline, to help me stay focused so I don't go off on all these different tangents. I mean, there's so much information to disclose to everyone, but I want to stay on this subject. Okay, now, so yeah, we've got conflicting, confusing, disinformation. There's an awful lot of fear-mongering going on. The news media, and even people who are living in fear, they express their fears, and they, they're just not doing a service to humanity by instilling their own fears on the population, or with, like, say, our news media. Sometimes they are focusing on fear mongering, and it has to do with how the controlling of the population is going on. There's a certain amount of control over what we say, think, and do, to heavily influence our way of thinking, and that influence our choices, right, in our lives. So yeah, there's a lot of fear mongering going on. So just becoming aware of that, questioning everything, everything you hear, what's the reason for this? What's the motive, right? So is it truth that you're listening to, or is it disinformation? And is it disinformation to sway your thinking toward, someone else's end, and not your own higher good? So instilling hate and mistrust and separation, that's what this is doing to the population, whether you realize it or not. But, one side of the aisle is saying, well, we're going to just tell you that some of the social unrest is going on, and maybe in reality it isn't for some people. So it could be true for some people and untrue for not, but it could definitely influence how you're thinking and feeling, and even viewing others. So just removing that automatic just information that's bombarding your brain, and ignoring what your heart thinks. Your heart has a brain, and inside of every one of our trillions of cells is the genetic code of the DNA. And that resonates with the holographic universe. Okay, so it's like a miniature world in every one of our cells that is like a holographic replica of the entire cosmos, and it goes indefinitely. It's infinite. So we are part of all of this, and listening to your heart, listening to how your body feels, tuning into that and making it a habit, practicing that, and learning to trust that over the information that you're getting is the first step toward a higher being, becoming a higher being. Okay, so mistrust, it's a healthy mistrust to go out and seek information and try to do your own research, being careful not to get swayed by a lot of the propaganda that's out there. It's very frustrating and very confusing. So we don't want to separate ourselves, but we do want to put a little distance from all of that chaos so that we can step out and look at everything objectively. So how is one able to recognize truth? Now we're going to go through this little lesson here on how to learn how to recognize truth. So the first thing you want to do is to optimize all your body system to increase your vibrational frequencies. Okay, so let's just go ahead and click on the first link here. This is really exciting. I love this website because they do quote some of the research that's going on out there that help us understand that everything vibrates at the quantum energy level. Everything is vibrating at various frequencies. All these frequencies influence our lives in all these profound and subtle ways. Our bodies emit the frequencies, whether we're in a state of rest or sleeping, or everything that we're doing. So it's beginning to explore and understand the role of vibration and frequency in our bodies, as well as how it applies to our health. So according to Bruce Tainio, researcher and founder of Tainio Technology, he says the healthy human body resonates at a frequency of 62 to 78 megahertz, and disease starts when the frequency drops to 58 megahertz. And that I have found throughout my years of research, That seems to be the general consensus in the scientific community. All right, so now it goes into different kinds of ways to heal the body, like sound, frequency, and all of that. But everyone is dealing with all these different frequencies. Now, the various areas of the body, they resonate at different megahertz. So the brain frequency is anywhere from 72 to 90, and the normal brain frequency is around 72. The human body, the whole entire body resonates between 62 to 78 megahertz. The heart frequency, 67 to 70, liver frequency, 55 to 60. Your pancreas resonates at an optimal 60 to 80. And whereas the disease process, if you're ill and you're not taking care of your body and your body's starting to degenerate and deteriorate, heading toward the disease process, then that's generally registered at 58, 52 to 58, actually. Okay, so the goal is to make sure you're taking care of your human body as optimally as possible so that you maintain a higher frequency. Not only does that affect your health in a positive way, but it affects others around you. If you've ever noticed a person who is vibrantly healthy, they walk into a room and everyone can feel their presence, okay? And because I practice what I teach and I'm very, very, healthy, people have told me that, when I walk into a room, they can feel like a wave of energy walking into a room. I find that so incredible. It's unbelievable. But, feeling how your body is when it's in its higher state of health versus when you're sick, there's a huge difference between that. But if you're always sick, then you won't be able to have that contrast. You won't be able to have anything to compare to. So starting to, if you're very sick, then starting to turn that around to allow your body's healing capacity to improve its functioning at the microcell level, the quantum energy submolecular subatomic level. So all of this is all about frequency, as Nikola Tesla famously said. Okay, so that is the one part that I wanted to share with you. So the next part is the absence of influence. So you want to stop being influenced by everything and everyone. And even if you think you're choosing who you want to be influenced by, do you actually know if they've done any kind of growth and development or even scientific research, or if they have years and years of experience in expressing what they know? So there's a lot of people tend to, they tend to think, well, this person sounds like, they know what they're talking about, so I'm going to go with what they say. That's not good enough. That's not good for you, to just trying to use discernment and not negativity or, closed-mindedness, shutting someone down when they're trying to express what they believe or what they wish to tell you. Listening is a good tool to expand how other people think. Knowing how other people think is how you build your own inner wisdom. Of course, adversity, life challenges, that helps you build character and strength and inner wisdom also, right? We've all been through some pretty tough times in our lives, I'm sure. So that actually is like a test on how are you going to react to this situation and what person are you becoming or will become as a result of the outcome. So, this is all a lot of things to consider in order to help you elevate yourself and vibrate at a higher frequency. So recognizing truth. So let's go to, let's see. Okay, there's a ways to go there. So let's cover this part. Absence of influence, tapping into your inner communications with your God or universe, whatever you want to call this force that is permeating all over the universe, permeates within our cells, in our DNA, and this optimal force of love and positivity and light. All these positive terms that we use to enhance our spirituality that actually happens to jive with science. So scientists have long increase their spirituality because of how the science just demonstrates the power of the universe. Okay, so this is really exciting to me. And then like I said, absence of your influencing, the people who are trying to influence you, or even if they are not trying to influence you, and you happen to listen to someone's YouTube channel or something on television, or even in a movie, what's the message there? What kind of influence is that having? What kind of effect is that having on you? So I have found, like I said, people who have used my Nutritional Synergy program, is that the complete and correct biologically compatible cellular nourishment, the microcells in our trillions of cells in our body that comprise the entire body, all the body systems. So they require raw, light energy active, enzyme active, nutrient rich living foods. And yes, the other food groups, I mean, we don't want to eat raw meat or raw fish. I never was an advocate of sushi because it's, there's a high risk of getting severely sick. But the plant kingdom, that when you take in the raw fruits, berries, and vegetables, leafy greens, and herbs, when they're not cooked, when they're energy active, enzyme active, and all the nutrients haven't been destroyed by heat and cooking, these are living foods, and they contain the life energy transfer when you ingest them, that when you digest them at that microcell level, not only do they have a nutrient transfer, but they have an energy transfer as well. And so when I saw this in my clients many years ago, it seemed like they were luminous. They went from being sick to being vibrantly healthy, and they had this luminescent quality. They were vibrating at a higher frequency, and it's no wonder that I saw something in them, and they changed their lives. They made better life choices, relationships improved, and sometimes they even left, relationships that were not good for them, kind of thing. So I saw this through the years, and I didn't know what to call it until years later when I started studying biophysics, and I realized that's what it is. They have a light in them that they didn't have before. Their molecules are vibrating at the light energy frequencies associated with optimal health. Okay, so another way to absorb light is to go out into sunlight. Also, exercise, staying hydrated with purified spring water. None of the other fluids that you take in are hydrating. Ultimately, they make the kidneys overwork. They have solutes, and so they're not going to be purified and hydrating that can enter the cell and allow the energy production and the detoxification, all the things that our microcells do to keep us alive and thriving. They can only do that with purified spring water. Okay, so hydration is extremely important. Exercise, it shifts your whole metabolism. It improves how your body utilizes nutrients. It improves how your body detoxifies itself on a daily basis. It improves everything. The immune system, balances your hormones. I mean, it does everything in the body. Improves how the brain works because it's more oxygenated, and the physical coordination that one gets from improving their muscle tone, or if you're participating in some kind of a sport or even a dance activity, martial arts, all these coordinated movements will improve how your nervous system works. So all of this comes together into a holistic person, a whole health person. Also, grounding. There's a lot of scientific research on grounding or earthing, where you take off your shoes, you come in contact with the earth, not sidewalks, because a lot of them have synthetic, chemicals in them, or things that harden, hardening agents in the sidewalks or concrete. So direct connection with the earth, hugging a tree with your bare hands, or walking in grass barefoot, that allows your body to absorb the ever-abundant, never-ending number of electrons that will activate your cells as well. So there's a lot of health benefits for grounding and earthing. Okay. So another thing we need to look at are leaders, authorities. Are they advocates for humankind? So I'm thinking by now people are realizing that people who are our supposed leaders, right? Like in politics, people we supposedly elect and we put into office to serve humanity, they're not always doing their job, and that's putting it lightly. I think people are realizing that more and more these days. Any kind of authority, it doesn't seem that they are advocating for your health and well-being, your health and your wealth, and your psychological, emotional well-being. So, I mean, you can look at all these different aspects of our civilization. Some of them are blatantly obvious, and this is something that I've noticed as far as the medical industry. When my clients came to me with their illnesses, they were taking, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, sometimes a lot more of their medications. And when I looked up their side effects, it seemed that the side effects were the cause of their health issues. So, not being a medical doctor, all I could do was teach them how to nourish their bodies, because I knew, and I know to this day, that your cells, when they recognize the biocompatibility of nutrients, of whole foods, that will be utilized to improve the functioning of your cells that compose all the different body systems. So that's how my clients got well. In spite of the side effects of their medications, their bodies knew and recognized those correct, nutrients to return the functioning of their bodies. So that's one thing I noticed. It's like I became awakened to the fact that there was something very sinister going on as far as the medical industrial complex. They're profit driven. It's a disease care system. It's a multi-trillion-dollar industry that profits from keeping people sick. So, I'm not the only one that has come to that conclusion. There are multiple, probably thousands of, scientific evidence or testimonials from scientists or doctors, in the various aspects of the disease care system that have come forward to vouch for what I'm saying, And also I've noticed that especially online, there's been a lot of discrediting of the holistic modalities, especially of nutritional healing, and to ridicule even the ancient traditions with evidence-based medical systems of botanical medicine. So other countries, their medical systems are based on botanical medicines, and they call the Western medicine the alternative medicine, whereas it's the other way around. It's inverted, here in the United States. But I've been quietly, educating my clients until I retired my practice 13 years ago now. Decided to reach a higher base of the population by teaching and writing books, and soon to be launching my True Health Mastery Institute of Holistic Personal Health Management. So that's going to be a private organization where members can have access to a lot more information, that is non-censored, and that is evidence-based, always evidence-based, including information from ancient healers that is confirmed through scientific evidence. So it's all going to be not of a personal perspective, but from a more of a scientific evidence-based perspective. So nutritional healing, I've had to really sidestep a lot of the American Medical Association and all these organizations that are backed by these unseen negative influences, to put it lightly. This is going to be on YouTube, so I have to be careful what I say. So yeah, so as long as you are evidence-based and you try based on the science, all these different nutritional protocols and botanicals, combinations of botanicals, and that's the kind of work that I do in my Nutritional Synergy system in order to restore the body back to its optimal functioning. Once those molecules enter the body of the right foods and the right nutrients, then the body knows exactly what to do to repair and regenerate itself and correct a lot of its health issues. Okay, that's just been my experience in the last 45 years, and backed by solid science. So then we look at the food production system. I found that a lot of my clients were eating a lot of foods that are laden with synthetic pesticides and herbicides and other, chemicals, industrial chemicals that they were being exposed to. So all of these are known, again, the science is backing this up, are known to cause cancer, nerve degeneration, digestive upsets. They've been known to damage the DNA, our genetic code of instructions that operate the body. So that's been disruptive. So the food production system that's used on a massive scale, big agriculture, then they're being controlled, by these unknown forces that in my True Health Mastery Institute, I'll be able to talk about that more freely and tell you exactly what these forces are. But for now, there's a lot of forces behind not being your friend, not being your advocate. And it seems to me that it should be obvious by now. Everywhere you turn, something is bad for you. I've heard a lot of lay people say, "Oh, everything is bad for you," as if they're okay with that. You should not be okay with that, because it kills people. It ruins lives. So controlling the food supply is, one of the old manifestos from World War II. To control the food supply, to control the masses. So you vote with your dollars. You don't want to contribute to the horrendous, just multi-trillion-dollar industries that are just making, laughable amounts of money at your expense. So, controlling who you buy from, where your food comes from, or that's why I support the organic industry. Even though they have their problems, it's a lot better than being subjected to, just saturated amounts of synthetics that can kill you, eventually. And then we've got the money system, of course. The Federal Reserve is neither a federal organization nor a reserve for currency. That's just a misnomer to trick you into believing that it's, all legitimate with the government and that kind of thing. But that money system, from what I understand, is about to completely be demolished and replaced with a much better money system. So watch out for that one. But yeah, I mean, worrying about money, and eating the wrong foods and being a victim of the medical industrial complex, those are all contributing factors that just stomp out the light in you, kind of thing. And of course, the education, from starting from grammar school all the way through college, there's an awful lot of propaganda being thrown at our children. So again, it's all about choice. It's all about being aware of what's going on, not entirely entrusting the educational system for your children. So I was always one of the parents that sat in the classroom or volunteered in the classroom or even joined a special program where the parents participated in the education of their children. That was a great program, so when my kids were growing up. But yeah, I mean, just if you're going to have children, get involved, because there's a lot. You can't just say that it takes a tribe to raise your child, because now the tribe is multi-factional and it's very diverse, and it's designed to just herd everybody down into this narrow-minded fear kind of mentality. Okay, so what I have found, again, when someone becomes optimally healthful, their bodies are vibrating at a higher frequency that's outpaces all of this lower vibration kind of energy that's being instilled and pushed upon you. And of course, we've got to talk about the news. Be careful what you listen to, because there's always a slant. There's always, so much misinformation that's being disseminated out to the population. So, the more different sources and the more different opinions and perspectives that you listen to as far as receiving news, then the better idea you'll get as far as, the news, the mainstream media, they sound, wow, they sound like they really know what they're talking about, right? But when you listen to another perspective, you think, oh my goodness, what a clash, what a difference. So then you start exploring other opinions, right? And other experts, others who have been, like, say, in the military, coming forward and giving information, or those who have been in the sciences, they come forward and reveal the truth that directly conflicts with a lot of other information that you might have heard. So becoming aware of all these different aspects actually elevates you to a higher ability to be able to discern information and to just be more cognitive, go away from cognitive dissonance into cognitive consonance. So the historical ages of the rise and decline and fall of civilizations, this is something that our civilization is actually going through. So what happens is when a civilization rises from bondage or slavery or exploitation, or torture and all these horrible things that have happened to humankind over the ages, there's always this cycle that they go through. So they rise from the bondage, they fight their way to freedom, and they achieve a certain level of spiritual growth as a result of their sufferings and the injustices that have been imposed upon them, right? And then the next step in a civilization is once they've achieved this freedom from that spiritual growth, they go to great courage in forming and fighting for a just world for succeeding generations. And I feel like we're kind of going through that right now. We're fighting for freedom and truth and justice. And already we're starting to think about, okay, so it looks like, we're gaining on this. We're getting some footage on being able to change the world, but we want to do this not just for our own generation, but for each succeeding generation. I feel like I've been fighting for truth and justice for the sake of my children and everyone's children in the world for all my life almost, So that's an important step in forming a higher conscious civilization, vanquishing foes of injustice and forging forth with ideals for liberty. That's going on as well too. Newly acquired liberty from sacrifice and hard work, manifesting abundance. So yeah, getting to work and improving all aspects of our civilization. That's our job now, but then what happens in a civilization after a few generations? They go from abundance to complacency. They get comfortable and they even get apathetic. They just don't want to, they don't care. They're comfortable, they're living a great life, and that's all they want. And even if some, evil or corrupt governments or individuals or organizations start infiltrating again back into this kind of civilization, this level. So, you want to go from apathy to independence, right? I mean, you don't want to go to apathy. You want to create the sense of independence and working together to maintain that civilization's independence, not rely on their government or any other entity that could take this away from people, at a moment's notice. So yeah, apathy to dependence. You don't want to become dependent. And I think that our country and other countries have totally become dependent on their governments, of course, with a lot of corruption and knowing human behavior and knowing how innocent people can be, how trusting, how gullible they can become. And that's just a molding effect, that the people who try to run the world have always known about human beings, that they're gullible, and so they're moldable and controllable. And if you keep them sick and in fear, then of course they're going to be a lot more desperate to find the solutions that are offered that may not be for the betterment of humankind, kind of thing. So then from that dependence, they're going back to bondage again. They're just overrun by corruption, and they don't even know that they're even allowing it before it's too late. So I've seen all of this in the world, and so we want to snap out of it, get out of that mindset, get out of that physical and spiritual prison that people find themselves in. So, we're going to talk about cognition, because cognition is very important. How you think of things, how you absorb information. So let's get the formal definition here. It's the mental action or process of acquiring knowledge and understanding through thought, experience, and the senses. So here's an example. These infections can adversely affect cognition and educational achievement. Okay, so it's perception, discernment, awareness, apprehension, and learning, all these things that people need to practice, people need to be aware of. So it's also a perception, a sensation, an idea, or intuition resulting from the process of cognition. So that's one nice little definition of it. And here are a couple of scientific research studies that I wanted to go over. So Cambridge comes about to provide us with a nice little article. So they say cognition is essential for everyday functioning, and they say why. Here's why. Cognition, let me move myself over. Cognition refers to a range of mental processes relating to the acquisition, storage, manipulation, and retrieval of information. It underpins many daily activities in health and disease across the age span. Cognition can be separated into multiple distinct functions dependent on particular brain circuits and neuromodulators. So here we are getting into the physiology of it, which requires nutrient density, proper nutrition. Computerized cognitive testing has been developed and validated as tapping into particular brain regions with many advantages over older pen paper methods. Okay, so there's a lot of ways to test it. So then they're talking about testing. Okay, so what role does cognition have? It has a physical basis in the brain with over 100 billion nerve cells in a healthy human brain. Each of these can have up to 10,000 connections with other nerve cells called neurons. All of this makes it an incredibly complicated organ. In order to begin to understand the brain, we sometimes rely on simplified scientific models, some of which have been developed using studies in rodents and non-human primates. These studies help us better understand certain parts of our cognition, such as how we learn language, et cetera, disorders of cognition like Alzheimer's disease. So I have learned over the years that nourishing the body properly with live enzyme active, energy active foods will dissolve a lot of the gunk that the body accumulates, such as in the neurodegeneration that happens and results in Alzheimer's or in Parkinson's or any other neurodegenerative condition. So again, it's the nourishment. I'm never going to stop saying this. I'm never going to stop repeating myself because of the scientific evidence, my professional experience in observing the health transformations of countless clients, and still to this day, hearing about testimonials. Okay, so that's just what I wanted to cover on that one here. So here's another one, social cognitive neuroscience, clinical brain mapping. So here we go into some of the scientific literature, and this is from a book, actually. Okay, it's from these authors, International Encyclopedia of Social and Behavioral Sciences, 2001. So this is just like an excerpt of this reference book. So then, they're just talking about the theory of cognitive dissonance. And let's see, what was I going to show you here? Oh, here we go. Okay. Social cognitive neuroscience, clinical brain mapping, attitude change following cognitive dissonance. Okay, so this will alter your behavior, your attitude, your emotions, is what they're saying here. So avoiding all of this is going to help you have a much easier life, okay? Because you'll see it from you'll see these problems in the world from an entirely different perspective, a much calmer perspective. You'll be able to react much more logically and calmly from a place of what they call knowing. It might be a new age woo-woo term, but there is definitely some kind of a download from the universe that one gets when they're resonating with the flow of the entire universe. So the universe, allegedly, according to science, is conscious, is a living being. Call it God, call it anything you want, but it is conscious and it responds, and you are part of it. You're not separate from it. There's no duality there. So being in this flow, in this higher vibrational frequency, will provide you with more downloads of information and insights than you ever thought possible. And the more you do this, the more actually a person begins to feel blissful and loving and feels the love. It's a loving universe. This is what scientists have definitely come to all these conclusions that actually jibe with what the spiritualists have said all along. you know? So this is really exciting to know that we can finally merge science with spirituality and know that we have a very strong sense of who we are and how to, manage ourselves, manage our psychological, emotional mentality. So I'd like to go on to the next one here. I just wanted to point that out. There's a lot of information on the internet, but what you do is whenever you want to know something, try to, just know the terminology. It takes practice, I know, like cognitive neuroscience, and I just use different terms that over the years I've come to realize what the right terms are. But also you follow your search phrase with science journal. Otherwise, you're going to get misinformation, disinformation, poorly designed, so-called scientific studies, and companies trying to sell you something, telling you, oh, this will completely solve your health issues. There's no such thing. I always evaluate all of these infomercials from people who are unqualified. They haven't done years and decades, of nutritional science research and studies. They haven't observed the before and after effects of health transformations from nutritional synergy. Okay, so yeah, stay with me, hang out with me, and I'll show you what you can do to improve all of this. All right, so I'm just speaking from experience and a lot of years of research. So here's another link. And this is from MDPI, just different journals that they gather together and feature. This one is, this article is titled Nutrition, Brain, and Cognition. So, you've got all of these different health ailments, and what a lot of these documents describe is how to improve the, like, say, cognitive impairment, dementia, diet and dietary patterns, good and bad, and the micronutrients, the macronutrients, and proper nutrition, whole foods, not isolated nutrients. They don't work in the body that way. The body works in synergy. Observational studies, prevention and treatment, all these kinds of things you can find on the internet in this particular set of journals. But so let's see, I'm sure I picked something out that I wanted to read to you here. I guess that was it. Sometimes I just speak before I read, and yep, that's what I wanted to cover. Okay, all right, good. So let's go on with this. All right, so also, what optimally healthful people have versus what people who aren't healthful don't have. Okay, healthy people have better cognition. We've gone over cognition. They have better discernment. Like I said, they get downloads, they're more open-minded, and people who seek information from different opinions get a much better picture of what's really going on. So, if you stay with one opinion or one set of information, you're missing out on everything else. And by trying to incorporate other things to broaden your perspective and deepen your perspective, then you'll have a much better picture of what it's really all about. An ant doesn't know what the world is about, doesn't even know you're standing there ready to squash it, right? It just doesn't know. All it knows is it's got its path and it's got its job, right? But we're much more intelligent than that. We can't exist like that. We have to get more information. We have to be more open-minded so that we can have better discernment. I mean, once you gather information, you'll begin to see, okay, now I have heard that before, and I don't agree with that because that conflicts with this. That makes much more sense, and this person is proving what they're saying, and that's more believable, that's more credible. So you get a sense of discernment that way over time, and you can actually make better choices as a result of that. And just step back and say, oh, this person or these groups they don't have all the information they need in order to better behave, or their attitudes and perspectives leave a lot to be desired, kind of thing. You'll have better control over your stress. Whether someone that is causing you a lot of stress, you can just step back and say, I'm just not going to reply. I'm not going to take the bait. I'm not going to, just allow that person to upset me, because I know who I am, and I know, that whatever that person is saying about me is not true, or whatever the case, right? So you'll have better control over your own emotional reactions. So you have a flat tire on the freeway and it's 100 degrees outside, instead of going off into a panic, you can calmly say, I've got to call a tow truck. Um, and knowing it's 100 degrees out, with the remote possibility that you might have, some car trouble somewhere, you bring on some water, cold water, enough to sustain you over the hour, hopefully not longer than that, where until a tow truck comes. Whatever happens that in your life that kind of just takes you by surprise, you never know, right? So being able to control those emotional reactions is so important. To stay calm, you'll be able to make much better intelligent choices that way, instead of being in this neurodegenerative state where your nerves are misfiring and your hormones are crazy kind of thing. If you keep your body in a homeostasis, in a biochemical balance, then you're less likely to react that way. And say it's an emergency situation, and you've got to help others, then you'll be much better able to think more clearly and act accordingly, kind of thing. Better ability to control anger. The world is full of things to get angry at, and exasperated and frustrated about, but you can't change the whole world. You can affect it by your positive vibration. That is a lot more powerful than one might realize. Okay, so now I'm going to go over in my book, Potent Superfoods for Lifelong True Health. I'm going to show you some of the botanicals that I did research on. Now, this book has over 100 botanicals in it, but the ones that have been shown to improve cognition are in these foods: the cinnamon bark, black currant, red currant, fennel, ginseng, the Asian root, the hyssop, and the mushroom, the super mushroom called lion's mane, raspberries, strawberries, and all these different foods that contain the omega-3 polyunsaturated fatty acids that are known to restore the nervous system, improve brain functioning, things like that. Also precursors for the 10,000 hormones your body makes, right? So these are some of the foods that are in my book: grape seeds, kale, olive, pine nut, and Arctic fish and Arctic sea vegetables. So vegetables from clean oceans, which is, I only recommend foods from the Arctic, because the other oceans are still full of garbage and plastics, and everything gets thrown into the ocean, including the dumping of pollutants, things like that. So the other fish in our oceans are not clean. It's our job to find ways and influence others who are able to have that technology to go out and clean it up, right? But we're not quite there yet. First, we need to finish eliminating all of the factions in this world that are causing us harm. And that just means saying no. There's a peaceful sedition kind of perspective that a person can take, where they're not going to take it anymore. They're just not going to comply. This harms me. I am not going to buy into this kind of thing. Organically raised meats, animals that have been raised without hormones and synthetic, drugs, and genetically modified foods, all those things that cause so much illness and disease. So you want to try to find meats that have been raised in clean environments, that haven't been fed or given all of these drugs, kind of thing. So also, this is something that I've always maintained, and there's been sparse, research over the years, and now more research is boldly coming forward, in spite of all the propaganda out there to try to squelch this information and keep this from you. New research finds saturated fats can lower change of cognitive function over time. We're not talking about hydrogenated or trans fats. Those are plasticized fats that are altered through heat and all kinds of, manufacturing, effects that alter the molecules of perfectly healthy plant oils. We're not talking about that. Saturated fats are present in some plants, like the monounsaturated fats. They contain the omega-3s as well as the saturated fats, so like olive oil, those are known healthy fats, right? But animal fats have been given a bad rap ever since the margarine industry came forward and tried to convince the public that butter was bad, take margarine instead. Well, when you bombard perfectly good plant oils with hydrogen atoms and solidifies it into a plastic, then it's going to stick to the arteries. And there is plenty of evidence out there that proves that those types of fats are the ones that harden the arteries or clog the arteries, not just the arteries and blood vessels, but the microcirculatory systems in every single one of your organs, kind of thing. So saturated fats are not bad for you. Keep them in the right proportions. You've got to have the raw enzyme active light energy botanicals in there too, with the meats and a variety of raw botanicals, right? So that you can digest and break down those fats and those proteins in those meats. Your body needs those amino acids to rebuild everything in your body. We are made entirely out of protein. Other than the water and the nutrients that are circulating, we are made out of protein, So we need to replenish our cells that are made out of protein with animal-derived foods that are made out of protein. Our bodies will break them down to their basic components of amino acids to help rebuild our cells and rebuild our bodies, including the immune system. Every single cell requires these amino acids to maintain itself. All right, so that's just kind of a few things that I wanted to show you. So before I finish, I'd like to show you some of these foods that are in my book, just to read a little bit about what scientists have found. I can just move this over a little. Okay, I guess it's not going to let me. All right. Okay, so now this is my book, Potent Superfoods for Lifelong True Health. So the book itself has a green cover background on it. This is my transcript, that I uploaded to Amazon. But yeah, this is the book itself. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just do a control find. This book is 586 pages long. So let's look up cinnamon bark, and I'll show you the science that has been shown to improve cognition in this particular botanical. Oops. Got to start over here. Okay, this is the table of contents. Let's go to the scientific monograph. Now, these are scientific monographs. These are modeled after, years ago, Germany put out these, what they call German Commission E monographs, and they are scientific summarizations of different botanicals. And this is the format I used to compile this book. So as you can see here, the scientific reference citations in the back of the book, there are an overwhelming amount of scientific peer-reviewed studies that I cite there. And so you'll see in the book, occasionally I'll always list the name of the first scientist that's listed in the research study and the year it was published. So that way you can look it up in the scientific reference section in the back of the book. So then you can go to that scientific research study and look at the peer-reviewed study and see what the scientists found. But I summarized everything here. I summarized it all for you here in this monograph. Okay, so cinnamon bark. Now that we're on cinnamon, let's type in cognition. Looks like it's not going to go straight to cinnamon bark. All right, fine. I'll just jump right to it. No, let's go back to cinnamon bark. This is not going to work. Sorry. All right, so cognition, the word does appear here. I'm just going to skim through here just to see. Okay, so it's found to be beneficial for neurological disorders such as Alzheimer's and Parkinson's through a reduction in oligomers or plaques forming along nerve cells and improving cognitive performance. So like I said before, the wrong fats will form and destroy those nerve cells by forming this gunk from the wrong types of fats, those types of plasticized fats. So the right types of fats will actually dissolve those fats, those wrong fats, but also rebuild the nerve cell or protect the nerve cell so it can function properly. The nerve cell has to be coated by these essential fatty acids. So, it talks about how it reduces the filament formation and abnormal tau protein aggregation, which it describes the type of things that can go wrong in a diseased nerve cell, which limit blood supply to the brain and other areas. So that's one thing that scientists have found, to protect the nerve cell. And I'm also searching for the word cognition in here. You're probably reading along. This is fine. You can pause it and look at all the wonderful things that cinnamon does for you. And this is, as you see, I try to speak in layperson's terms, and I also built a encyclopedia dictionary in the same book so that if you see a word that you don't understand, you can look it up right then and there in the book itself without, going off to the internet. And okay. So for some reason, it's evading me, cognition. I tell you what, let's just go ahead and do what I did before and just type in the word cognition. Don't want to take up more of our time here. All right, so let's just go by, ginkgo leaf. All right, it's known for improving cognition. And also, let's see what it says here. The active compounds in ginkgo, which include flavonol glycosides, ginkgolides, and billobolide and proanthocyanidins. These are all free radical scavenging antioxidants in the ginkgo. They protect nerve cells from damage, and they influence various nerve transmission systems, and it's considered to be very critical for cognition. That is, perception, discernment, comprehension, and insight. All right, so that is the ginkgo. Let's see what else we have here. The Asian Panax ginseng also has been studied intensively for many years. Heck, it's been in the Chinese medicine for over 2,000 years, in all of their medical texts, and has cognition enhancing properties. Siberian ginseng, the Eleuthero, also studies indicate it can improve brain activity, protect cognition, improve ability to focus, improve alertness, having an anti-inflammatory neuroprotective effect, among other, health benefits. But we're just picking out the word cognition here. Foods you can use to protect yourself so that you can raise your vibrational frequency, improve how your nervous system works, and they balance the hormone system too, so you don't fly off the handle and make preconceived notions and overreact and go off on these emotional tangents that are completely irrational. And not just women, women are stereotypically categorized that way, but I think for a lot of years now, women have proven that they can indeed handle stress and can act logically and not react to stress. And some men fly off the handle, so it's not something that that should be so misogynistic or that kind of nonsense. So kale is one of the foods that has been known to do all sorts of these health benefits, as you can see. I'm scrolling here, but it's been shown to improve spatial and learning memory, suppress declining cognition by preventing oxidative damage in the nervous system. And again, there's that damage that forms these free radicals from junk food, the wrong molecules that the body needs to try to disassemble. Sometimes it has difficulty in getting around this kind of damaged structures in these processed foods, or even like synthetics that get inside the body, get inside the bloodstream and circulate around and destroy the nervous system by doing all this damage. So, this kind of biochemical compounds in these botanicals help protect against that kind of damage. So then we have, let's see, which one is this? This is the lemon balm. Okay, so again, all of these wonderful health attributes, but it's also tested against, it was observed in an in vivo study. That's human test subjects. A lot of research studies don't involve human test subjects. They involve the metabolisms that are similar to human beings, like in apes or chimpanzees or rats or even mice. But in this case, it was a human study, and they found that it inhibits the serotonin levels of those taking selective serotonin serotonin reuptake inhibitors, or SSRIs, which influence neurological processes such as anxiety, appetite, cognition, learning, memory, mood, nausea, sleep, and the regulation of body temperature. So sleep is also extremely important to maintain this kind of mental strength, emotional strength, biochemical balance. So sleep is extremely important for contributing toward cognitive functioning. And now we've got the mushroom, also called the hedgehog goatee or lion's mane. And so I always include the Latin scientific names because these are universal terms that are used throughout the world in the scientific community to identify specific plants. You might have a plant that is in the same family, it looks very, very similar, but is completely different biochemically and affects the body in a different way. Some plants might even be poisonous that look like another, non-poisonous version in the same species or plant family. So it's important to know the scientific terms of the botanicals that you're seeking. So this one is showed enhanced recognition, memory through improved neurotransmission and neurogenesis, new nerve forming in the hippocampus and cerebellum areas of the brain, suggesting that this mushroom, the compounds in it may ameliorate cognitive decline and neurological deficits. Now we've got the sage, a very nice culinary herb. All of the herbs are extremely beneficial for your health, by the way. But studies show that this particular type of plant or this herb improves cognition, memory and recall, elevated mood, alertness, promotes calmness and contentedness. Okay, so we've got all these wonderful biochemicals in the plant kingdom that will work so compatibly with your biochemistry. Plants are very, very similar to our bodies. Their metabolisms are very similar. Their cell structures, their inner, organs inside every single one of their cells is almost identical to what's inside of our cells as well. I mean, if you want to see phytochemicals in plant compounds, I've got a whole slideshow that a lot of you have probably seen by now. But these are some of the phytochemicals that are found to be highly beneficial and highly compatible with the human body. So the plant kingdom is extremely important component of your overall diet. Learn to like your vegetables. Okay, so that wraps it up. Okay, so that is my book, and I'll go to my website. I'll show you how you can order it if you'd like. This is something that belongs in every home library. I didn't write it for nothing. I spent months, compiling this book, not nearly spent as much time on other books that I've written. Here's my Nutritional Synergy system, a complete nourishment system that will help the body get back to its optimal biochemistry and help the body heal itself. So this is the potent superfoods that we were just looking at, all the different scientific monographs. You can get it in soft cover or If you have a Kindle reader, you can download a Kindle reader from Amazon and you can have an ebook. But yeah, this is, there's a video that I kind of explain all about the book in further detail. But yeah, I mean, you can order this and have it on your shelf. There's 109 botanicals in this book that will save your life. So applying these botanicals, it has a nutrition section in there too. It explains a little bit about vitamins and minerals, not as extensively as my other books do for the different purposes, you know. But, you know, I highly recommend people getting my book because this is going to be something that you will refer to over and over again in your life for many years to come. You know, it'll help you become more of an expert than your own medical doctors. Medical doctors need to buy this book too because they need to just make sure that they understand that nutritional healing is extremely important. All right, so let's just kind of recap here. Optimized health, cognition, and elevated consciousness. So perceptivity becomes deeper, more acute, observing greater detail, finer nuances of things. You know, you'll find that you notice things more and things are strangely more familiar, and you'll start elevating your frequency to the point where, you know, you're in a higher plane of existence. Thinking, awareness expands, one sees and realizes more. Understanding of reality becomes more complex. One's own reality changes. One becomes aware of more. One's own life perception changes. The sense of self expands, knowing that you are a part of a greater existence. Personal growth expands and continues to develop indefinitely, reaching and attaining ever higher states of consciousness. Maintains higher states of consciousness through the higher vibrational frequency of the entire body, which resonates at 62 to 75 megahertz. So that's what I wanted to show you all today. And I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it wasn't too long. And if you didn't have time to watch the whole video, please return to it and finish watching it because I like to wrap things up so that, you know, you have inspiration and hopefully you'll be able to derive some kind of inspiration from what I presented here. So anyhow, thanks for joining me and I hope to see you next time. So this is over and out. Good night, everyone. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.